G'day folks, in this video I'll do a walkthrough solve of this two arches bookended arches cube. Well, this is another one of the series of arch nemesis bandaged cubes, and you can see the arches. This time I've got a couple on the white face, and when it's solved they are both together on that white face, one here, everything else is normal. And this is a little bit trickier than it looks because you can't really do much with the corners. And what I mean by that is if I go to start by solving the corners, the first thing I'll do is just put those two there. You'll notice that these never can really be out. So there's nothing I can do to change how these corners are oriented. That's pretty much it. The trouble comes on this face here. Thankfully, it's not a huge amount of trouble. So I'm just looking at this and going, what I want is, I'm not expecting to get yellow, 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 yellow in the correct order, but I would like, say, yellow, green, something like that. I can work with that. So all I do, if I don't have what I want, is I just turn this bookend around so it's opposite the other one and just have a look on this face. And I notice that now I do have something that is that order. So I've got yellow, red. That's great. So what I want to do is now say, cool, this is going to be my yellow face. And I'm just going to bring the other yellow pieces, which you'll notice are also yellow, orange, up onto this face. So all I need to do is just turn the arches, turn those around, put them there, and these four corners will be automatically done. Now while I'm at it, these ones will as well, so I can happily turn those around. I just want to get the correct centers into position, so I'll firstly look for the white center, move it down into place, and then I'll say, well, where does this orange center go? Goes to the other side. So now all of the corners are done and the centers are done as well. The only thing left to do is the edges. Well, the edges can be either, I'm looking at it as in terms of three orbits. So if I consider this corner, I've got an orbit going like that, I've got an orbit going like that, and I've got an orbit going like this. So there's three separate orbits. What I want to try and do first is get all the edges into their correct orbits. And to do that, I'm just firstly going to look and say, well, what's in the orbit? So the orange yellow here is in its correct orbit. The red yellow is also in its correct orbit. What about the blue yellow? No, so that belongs over here in a different orbit. So as soon as I find a piece in a different orbit, essentially what I want to do is swap two pieces, swap one piece to the other orbit and the other piece to this orbit. So I've identified the yellow-blue here as something that needs to go to another orbit. And when I'm holding the puzzle, I'm not actually that concerned with where these arches are. Ideally, I suppose it'd be nice to have them on the bottom, but it doesn't really matter that much. I wonder if I can just find something that's really nice and simple here. No, because that's orange and red yellow are on the same thing. Let's turn it like this. Yeah, okay, so this is a good one. I've got a white-red here that actually needs to go into this orbit. If we follow that around, you can see there's the white-red position. So it doesn't have to go into that position, just into this orbit. Now, I also note here I have orange-yellow and yellow-red, which are in their correct orbits. What would happen if I turned the slice up like that? Where does the blue-yellow need to go? Is the blue-yellow in? Just turning it back to here, I can see the blue-yellow belongs there, so it's in this orbit. Okay, so these two pieces are great pieces to swap. Now the way it's going to swap, it's not actually these two in this position that's going to swap. We're doing a 3 cycle, and so the piece down the bottom here is going to travel up to here. This piece will travel to there, and this one will travel down to there. So you can see that the piece that is in this position will actually not change orbits. It's this one and this one, which are going to change orbits. So I would look here and say, good, the blue-yellow is going to go to the correct orbit that it needs to go to, which if we turn these back and just have a look at all the corners and edges solved, where were we? If you remember, the white-red was coming to here. The blue-yellow needs to go to this orbit. Turn those back. Whoops, just one turn there. And what's this piece down here? Yellow-green. So at the moment, I've got a yellow-green going to this orbit, and I've got a blue-yellow going to this one. Blue-yellow is going to go to the correct orbit. What about yellow-green? Will the yellow-green belong in this orbit? No, it does not. So what I want to do is just make sure that the white-red, which does belong in this orbit, is positioned first of all down the bottom. So at this point, what setups have I done? Just one turn like that. I'll remember how to deal with that. The only other setup is to put the white-red down in that position. So I'm going to do that. So I'm now going to be swapping that and that in orbits. Now, most of the work here is just the setup of getting the pieces. The actual routine is pretty straightforward. It's the longest of the whole thing. And it's this. Talking about slice moves, I'm going to be doing M and M prime. And M is the same direction as L. So if I was to turn the left face, that's a clockwise L turn. So a clockwise M turn is like that. An anti-clockwise M turn is back that way, just like an anti-clockwise L turn. So what we want to do here, once we've got the pieces ready, is to do an M prime, U, M, U prime, and then a U2. Now I'll comment on that in a minute. We just repeat that exact thing. So M prime, U, M, U prime, U2. Now, just let me first of all put everything back to where it was. So I had those two setups and then I had this one. And what you'll see is that that red-white piece that used to be here is now sitting here, not only in its correct orbit, but its correct position. And there was a blue-yellow piece that was here. That blue-yellow piece is now down here and it is in its correct orbit. That is the sort of thing we are doing. Now, I did say I'd comment on it, and you'll notice in the middle of that routine, I did a U prime and then a U2, which of course is the same as a U-turn only. So you could technically replace that. You could actually write this as M prime, U, M, U, and then repeat. I suppose the reason I'm doing it like this is just to point out that it is actually an edge piece series. It is a 1-1 commutator and then a U2 in the middle. But however you want to look at it is fine. So I'd say good. That's at least that one and that one are swapped. Let's look for another couple of pieces that do need to swap. The blue-red is not in its correct orbit. That needs to be here. So that's got to go to this orbit. What about the green-white? Ah, perfect. The green-white belongs in this orbit. So I've got those pieces ready to swap. I just need to go, can I get the blue-red down to this position? Now, if I did that, it's going to put a white-orange there. So that's not even in orbit, so I don't have to worry about it. So what I'll do, I think, is firstly, let's just have a look. Yes, this is interesting. So I'm going to have to turn like that anyway to get things turnable, I think. Let's have a look. No, I'm actually not. That's all good. So the blue-red going there, the white-green going there. The other one is a white-orange. So at the moment, the white-orange will go to this orbit. Now, is that a nice, good orbit? No, it's not. So once again, I would say I need that blue-red down here before I start. So the only setups this time, just the M2. And now I'm okay to essentially swap the blue-red and the white-green in their orbits. Now, the nice thing about this is it doesn't matter that this arch is like this. I can still do the M prime, then the U, then the M, and then my U prime followed by U2, and I can repeat. M prime U, M U prime, U2. Now, remember that we did do that setup of the M2. You'll notice the blue-red has now gone into its correct orbit quite clearly. The other one, I can't remember what it was. I think it was the white-orange, the green-white. So that's good. So it's pretty straightforward once you get your pieces set up. Let's have a look for another one. You can see the white-blue. Yes, the white-blue and the orange-white definitely need to switch orbits. Let's see how we can do that. I'll do a setup of that nature. Those two are ready. So then it's a question of what's down here. The yellow-orange is already in its correct orbit. So this is a great example where I definitely want to put the white-orange over to here. I don't want the blue-white to go down to there and knock the orange-yellow out of its orbit. So once again, I'm going to do an M2 before I start. So now the two pieces will be the white-blue and the white-orange. They are the ones that will swap their orbits. So setup's been done. Away we go. Let's do the shortened version this time. M prime U, M U, and repeat. M prime U, M U. Okay, that's all done. We'll turn these two M turns back. And we've obviously had one other setup move here, but you can see that white-blue is now in its correct orbit. When I turn that back, the white-orange, is that in its correct orbit? Yes, it is. So that's good. Actually, let's just get those centers back as well. There we go. We shouldn't have that many to go, actually. In this orbit, red, yellow, yes, orange, white, yes, orange, yellow. So this orbit is now done. Let's have a look at this side one. That's good. Orange, green, blue, orange. So it's just the red, green here that needs to change orbits. And so the other orbit that will have a problem will be, looks like, is it this one? Where does the red, green go? This one here, blue, orange. There we go. So I've actually just got this swap of two pieces here as my last one. So if I was faced with that, I would just probably have a little think about what's the easiest way to do this. Oh, in fact, no, they are not swapping at all. They are in the same orbit. So all pieces, by the look of it, now that I look at this properly, are in their correct orbit. So that's the first stage that I'm looking at. But what I want to quickly do is just set up for what happens if you don't get that simple a solution or a scenario at this point. Okay, so what I've got here is pretty common occurrence, which is two swaps, as in a swap of pieces in one orbit and a swap of pieces in another orbit, but all of the pieces are in their correct orbits. So for example here, I've got the red yellow and the orange yellow that need to swap, but they are in their correct orbit. You can see the other two pieces are fine. So that's one orbit. And then I look at the other orbit and I've got this blue, orange, green, red. They also need to swap. It's a single swap in that orbit. So if that happens, what you need to do is temporarily involve one of the orbits to help solve the other one. Let's demonstrate that. I'll have a look at the, probably the easiest one to look at here is this green, red, orange, blue, because they're kind of already set up there. So what I would do first is just get one of these other orbit pieces over to this position. And I just need to be mindful that at this stage, I cannot turn the upper face. So I think initially I would need to just do a setup of a turn like that, just so that I can then turn the upper face when I need to. So at the moment, that's where it is. I need to move that orange yellow across to there. Now what I'm doing by doing this is saying, well, if I involve that other one, I'm going to get the red green out of orbit. I'm going to get this blue orange into its correct position. So I'll then only have one wrong piece in this orbit. So let's just do it and you'll see exactly what I mean. So again, get the arches into a position where I can turn them and then just do this slice turn to set up. So the orange yellow will come here and this red green will go into that orbit temporarily. Okay, so let's carry it out. All right, that's done. We'll undo, and we'll undo that. Let's see where we're at. So you remember that I had a swap of pieces in this orbit, the red, yellow, orange, yellow, and I had a swap in this orbit. What have we got now? I've still got two pieces out in this orbit. When I look at this one here, that's good, that's good, that's good. I've only got one piece out. So the only three pieces that are a problem here, this orange yellow, and then this white green. Oh, hang on, it's not the white green. It is the red yellow and the green red. So notice that the green red needs to come across to this orbit. The orange yellow goes there. The red yellow goes there. So I end up finishing with a nice little 3 cycle here. So again, I've just got to set things up so that they all work. I would probably, for this one, let's just see what I'm going to be able to do. I think I'd actually do something like that. So let's consider the one that I really want is this orange yellow. I want that to be on the side, but these arches are causing problems. So because of that, I'm going to probably do something like that. Now I just want to check that it doesn't. Yeah, that's perfect. Okay. So I'll do that first so that the upper face can turn freely. These are the other 2 pieces. And the piece that I needed to have swap with the orange yellow is this red green. So in order to accomplish that, I'm going to turn the M slice 1 turn, and then I'm going to turn the front face 2 turns. And that now puts that red green there ready to swap with the orange yellow. So an M turn and then front 2. But it's now ready to carry out the algorithm. So it's M prime U, M U. Of course, I'm doing the shortened version. Okay, that is done. So to undo, I want front 2. I want this M prime again. And I had something else that I had to do. Can't remember what it was. Was it this one or the other way? There we go. That looks good. So now what I should see, all being well, is that in each orbit, the pieces are either in their position, or they're in their position and solved, or they're in their position and flipped, or they can solve in a 3 cycle. So that orbit's fine. What about this one? That's good. That's good. That just needs to flip. And the other one, I got that solved. I got white, blue to blue, yellow to white, green, all in their orbit in a 3 cycle. Perfect. Okay. So once all your pieces are in their correct orbits and able to 3 cycle or solved, then you want to do a really simple routine just to move them. I've only got one opportunity here, but it's all you'll need. It's basically a piece going from the up front to the up back to the down back. So in this case, that white blue going to there, the blue yellow going to there, the white green coming back to here. So start with the up front, and all I need to do is an M, U2, M prime, U2. And if we look at it, that's now in position. So's that, so's that. That's almost the second little mini stage of getting the edges done. So the first stage is getting pieces correctly into their orbit. The second stage is cycling them home. The last little stage here is flipping any edges. And in fact, it's the last stage of the whole solve, is to flip any edges that need flipping. Now, you'll notice first of all that, well, actually you won't because I haven't said how yet, but what I want to do is flip an up front and up back. So let me take care of the ones that are simple to do. And here's a couple right here. So I need to be able to turn the M slice and the U face. That's what I want to do. Again, this is not quite an edge piece series. It's similar and it's very simple. So it's MU times 4 and then UM times 4. So MU, 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 and then you can kind of see that one's done. UM, 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 and now that one's done. Super simple, move on with our lives. The next one, I've got a red, green, and a blue, orange in the same orbit. So to get those done, I would probably, I first need to turn that, and then I would say just do a front 2 here to put them up front, up back. Now the problem here is I've got to turn the U face. So I reckon I would be holding it like this. That'll allow me to turn the U face. So if I put this back and go, well, that's how I've got to have it. I'll do that turn first. In fact, probably better off just doing that turn and then I want it to be this face, so probably I'll just have to do left and right prime, something like that. Just these two side faces. But the two pieces to flip are here, so mu times 4. And then um times 4. Okay, now just got to undo all those setups. Those two are pretty obvious, so is that. Well, that leaves us two remaining. They're in different orbits. They both need to flip. A couple of ways you could approach this. One way would be to, say, turn that face, flip those two, which would deal with that. When you turn it back, you've got those two to flip. What else could we do? We could do something like put that there and then turn this up. So a little bit of a setup to get those two on the up face. That's able to turn. So that's probably good enough now. If I want to, I can turn it around like that if it's easier. So mu times 4. And then times 4. I think that's it. And what have I got to do? Turn that back and turn that back. There it is. What is this called? The two arches book-ended is what it's called. That's the solved position of the puzzle. You can see it's a little bit different to a standard solve, basically because these corners can't really do much, and it forces us to use these strange sequences involving M's and U's. As always, thanks for watching.